Hi, it's John from Crafts by John UK. Today's project is this really simple card. It's basically die cuts, panels. I'm using the fern that I've cut out from these panels, flipping it onto another and with a cutout frame. So I've used the same size die to make two different elements. And basically simple stamping in the middle on a white background. It's kind of clean and simple with a slight little bit of green ink around the edges. If you're interested to see how I did this, in probably 15 minutes. I said it was quick. Please stay tuned. Okay, let's get started. So I've got here my piece of basic card stock. I think this is around 150, 200 GSM. It's just a basic white cardstock, which I've cut down to 14 centimeters by 14 centimeters. So this is ready to go on a 6-inch square card. What I've also got, I've used these two little dies, and I've used this floral frond. I mean, I don't know quite what you'd call it. It cuts like this. So you can see I've got one here I prepared earlier. So it cuts like that. I have got a tiny little bit that we need to put there for completeness. And I've just pre-cut my shape. So what I've done, the layout is going to be like this. It's going to be this one on the left, this one top right, with this die cut in it, and then we're going to then have a mirror of that with this a similar die cut, so they're all pointing into the middle, or I might change my mind and put them on pointing out to the outside. And then this last one, which I haven't actually taken off yet, but I'm now about to. You can see I've used blue tape just to hold that down, which peels off without taking any of the colour away, which is good. And basically I need to just pop that other little bit out, there it is, which I need to keep, and then just pop out the whole die cut. So you can see this is quite a simple layout, but it should be quite effective. At the moment, I'm trying to decide whether I like the idea of them facing inwards or outwards. This paper I made myself. It's just done with ink splattering, etc. It's also got a slight shimmery sheen on it, so that's quite nice. And I've obviously got a couple of little offcuts that I can use on another project. So it's going to look roughly like this. On the actual paper, it will be something like this, and the frames I've cut out are matching the overall size, so it's going to look something a little bit like that. And the only thing I need to decide really is how I'm going to do the pointing. Now I've got this stamp set, which is from All and Create, and I was thinking to use the I'm Here For You, which I haven't actually used yet, because basically it's all on one line, and it's quite small because I haven't got loads of space. So there's Have a Beautiful Day. Oops, I'm not really sure oops is appropriate. Congratulations, heartfelt thanks, or thinking of you. But I think I'm Here For You is quite a nice one, so I'll probably use that. So I'm thinking I'm going to pretty much center the 4 different panels, and then I'm going to literally stamp that in the middle. It's quite tight. I haven't got a lot of space, that's the only thing. So I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to stamp it on the actual card or actually mount it on a matching piece of paper. And then the other decision really is to whether these point out or point in. I think actually they might look better pointing out. There you go. Yeah, I think I like pointing out better, so that the base of them is to the middle. Yeah, I think that looks better. So I kind of need to work, the trouble is I need to work around this bit in the middle. So I think probably the first thing I'm going to do is stamp that middle bit, because that will then confirm for me how much space I've got left. So I'm just going to move those up and out of the way. And I'm going to get my stamping platform out because I really cannot afford to mess this one up. So how are we going to decide where to put it? That's the key question. So let me just pop that in first of all. We need to get it pretty much in the middle. So I'm going to use the ruler on the side of my, in fact, actually I'm going to put it right down the bottom because that will be slightly easier. So, where is that? What we need to do is vaguely measure this. Measuring something I'm not great at. But it's 14, so it needs to be on 7. So that's kind of where it needs to be. I'm here for you. What I'm probably going to do is just lay it down first of all, then, and that's on the wrong side, which is really clever of me. Always remember to turn your stamping platform around to match the stamp that you're using. Okay, let's try that again. So it was about at 7, wasn't it? Which is kind of like there. What I'm going to do is lay that down and then just use the grid of the stamping platform to get it A level, and also just measure where that's going to go. What looks like a simple card actually just needs a little bit of work. So if I measure that, that's 7, and that's 7. If anything, it probably could come down a slight little bit. I think it's about right, actually. Can I fit? Yeah, I can. So I think actually that's all right. And then in terms of being centered, is it in the middle? That's the next question. Let's have a look. So we've got 10 to 14, exactly 4 that side, but we've got nearly 5 that side. It needs to come over a little bit. So it needs to go that way. So it needs to go that way. Okay. This is complicated stuff. Keeping it in the same place, but just shimmying it across that way a little bit. Just double check that again. Obviously this is stuff you can work out beforehand, but I wanted to show you the whole thing. So 14, yeah, it's about 4.5 and about 4.5, that's about right. Excuse me, I have got a bit of a cough. And then if I just double check again, yeah, I think that's about right. Okay, is it level? That's the next question. So I'm just going to have a look at that. I think it's probably a little bit low on that side. And that's the good thing about the old stamping platform. You can fiddle until you're happy. Okay, right, we get to a point where we kind of just need to stamp it. I've got some VersaFine Olympia green here. I haven't got that many colours in the VersaFine, but this is a shade of green. So I'm thinking that will tie in nicely with the colours on our panels. There we go, really nice and simple. I'm not even going to clear emboss this. I'm just going to leave it as it is. I don't want it too shiny because then it'll tie in with the kind of colour of the panels. Okay, I'm just going to take that away. Right, there's our stamped piece, and it looks visually, I mean just manually looking at it, it kind of looks in the right place, so I'm hoping this works out. Okay, let's try our layout again. So we said the other way around, didn't we? So yeah, this is going to work fine. So the big decision now is, do we put the boxes right to the edge of the paper and actually center them around the edge of the card, or do we put the boxes centered to the image? There we go. I think actually that's going to look quite nice. And then obviously we've got our ferns to put in. There we go. I think that's going to look quite nice actually. Yeah, I think we'll center it to the edge basically. Okay, so this is just to kind of just get in there and do it kind of thing. So I'm just going to kind of get in there and do it. So I'm going to use liquid glue. I often use double-sided tape, as you'll know if you watch my videos, but on this one I definitely want a bit of wiggle room. So I'm going to just put some glue on the back. I don't do straight lines, I tend to do circles or squiggles, because I just think if you have all the glue right next to the edge, the minute you press it down, you get a big splurge of glue. If you do circles, it kind of distributes the glue. But what I do need to do is just dot on these fronds, just so that they stick down. I don't want any of these sticking up. So that's my glue applied, and we did say we were going that way, didn't we? So, okay, so I'm just going to visually do this. I'm not going to spend ages and time measuring. I'm just going to kind of plop it down. Okay, fine. There we go. Before I go any further, I'm going to find a frond. Hopefully, is that the one that goes there? No, I don't think it is from the pattern. Okay, let's pick the other one. We've only got two to play with. One of them must be the one that came out of there, which is that one, because they now tie up. And then I'm using that as an anchor to let me know where I need to put this. So I think this is the one that came out of there. Yes, it is. So this is a good way of doing that. When you take a die cut, you put the die back in and the little loose bit. That helps you work out where you need to put it. So I'm then going to pick that out. I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of glue on that, stick that down, and then pull the frond out. That way, that little tiny offcut will be in exactly the place it needs to be. Okay, bit of glue, and then grabbing that with my tweezers, because it really is teeny tiny. Pop that down. Let that rest a second, and then take the larger die cut out around it. There we go. So that's now exactly in the right place. Lining that up by eye would have been a complete nightmare. Okay, so I'm going to do probably the opposite one to this, just to make sure that I do stuff the right way around. Okay. So again, similar process. This is what I'd classify as quite simple card making. I came out with the idea, just thought I've got this pretty green paper that I'd made with a little bit of a sparkle on it, and I could do quite a nice simple layout based on it. And the idea of just using the simple die cuts and kind of mirroring, I just thought would be quite interesting. Quite an effective card, made quite simply. Okay, so we're going that way. I'm just looking at that gap and trying to get a similar kind of gap. And the good thing with liquid glue is you've obviously got that little bit of wiggle room. I'm pressing that down, and then just obviously pressing down those fronds where I've put the glue. So I'll now take the other that came out of here. Yeah, that's the right one. And then I've got my other little bit here, which I don't need to try because I know it's the right one. And I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue on that one, and then pop that down. Just hold that down with my fingers. The heat of my fingers will just help it stick, get the glue doing its job, and then take that out. It's sometimes easier to use a scalpel to do this, because obviously it's just got a slightly smaller blade. But there you go, once you get any lift on it, you can then get it with your tweezers. There we go. So both of those bits are in, and that's absolutely fine. Now what we need to do, these two frames. So similarly, just going to go around with a little shimmy. And then placing these. Now again, we need to kind of line it up, but we're not taking too much time. Just visually, is it in the right place? They're not next to each other. If it's not in exactly the right place, nobody's really going to notice that and call that out. So put that down. Similarly, the other one. can see I'm doing this all by eye, and I'm doing it quite quickly. I'm not spending loads of time doing it. Sometimes the longer you spend messing around trying to do it, the worse. I should say this background was created using brushos. So this is thinned down brushos with water in spray bottles, which is something I saw and thought, that's interesting, I shall have a go at that. Made quite an interesting background, I think you'll agree. And it's got a little bit of a shimmer on it as well, which is quite nice. So I'm now applying glue on the back of the fronds. You don't need loads of glue. Some people do go to town, but you just need a few key points to adhere, really. So you don't need loads. Let's pick that up, and then I'm just going to put that roughly in the middle. Doesn't really matter too much. And I'll just use my actual thumb, kind of hold that down. And similarly with the other one. And this technique would work with any kind of small die where you can cut it out and then use the cut and also the hole as part of the overall effect. So definitely worth having a play. Have a look at your stash, see what you've got. There we go. That's kind of gone down slightly on the wonk, but there we go. Quite easy to fix. There we go. There's the body of our card done in probably 10-15 minutes. So we've got quite a nice looking card there already. Okay, we've got a standard 6-inch card blank here. Just going to fold that in half and score it with my tool just to get that nicely crisply folded. Just double checking to make sure that's right. One thing I'm going to do, I have got some distress ink here in shabby shutters. I'm going to use my domed pad, and I'm just going to gently just add a tiny little bit of green around the edges. This will kind of bring it all together and also just create a little bit of interest because it's white on white. I mean, this could have been left and gone as a clean and simple card with no inking, you know, very similar colours together. White on white, obviously, but I kind of just want a little bit more interest around the edge. So I'm only doing it right on the edge. I'm not doing any blending onto the actual panel itself. This will barely show up, but it will just distinguish it from its background. So that's going to go preferably the right way up, and preferably that will also be square because it's not at the moment. Now it is, and that will go like that. So it's going to be simple. Why this card is not aligned. There we go. That's better. Okay, so on this one I am going to use tape. Just got some basic double-sided tape here, and I'm going to just put that all over the back of my panel. You get through quite a lot of double-sided tape when you're a card maker. I don't use anything expensive. This is just really basic stuff. 3 rolls for I think £5 or £6 on Amazon. Just going to put a couple of little bits there to hold it down, and then obviously I'm going to do bunny ears here because I need to wiggle that around. So I'm just going to do that little fold back. Should have been careful actually because this is all white, and made sure my work surface was clean, but I think it is. We haven't done any real inking or anything, so hopefully that's okay. Yeah, I don't see any marks, which is good. This card base, just looking to see if I've got any dirty marks there I need to cover up. I can see a little mark there, so it's going to go on this side. So I'm just going to stand up while I do that because the camera is completely in my way. And again, just visually lining it up think that's there. Pull the tapes off and actually stick it down. Left a slightly bigger gap at the bottom, which is pleasing to the eye. And then I'm just going to use my bone folder to go over the edges. Now you could obviously add enhancements on here. You could add some little pearls, you could add some Nouveau drops, whatever you want. But I actually really like the simplicity of that card. I'm here for you, and you've got obviously your 4 panels with the cutout from the 2 different panels kind of swapped. I think that's quite a nice looking card. I'd be happy to receive that. And there we go, there's our project for today. Quite a quick one, but hopefully enjoyable, may give you an idea for yourself. If you like my video, please click like, maybe subscribe to my channel, check out my other videos. There's lots on there, different card making styles and also different card making techniques. Crafts by John UK on Instagram, on TikTok, on Etsy, my shop where I sell my cards, and hope to see you soon.